It's just me. Okay, let me share my screen. Can we see my screen? I just want to be sure.
Yes, I can see it. Well, I'm not hearing Elder's voice.
If you can hear me, you could just say yes and put yes in the chat box just to be sure that everyone is.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Ngozi. All right. So the topic is supposed to be knowing your child and other tips. Well, I decided to make it a little more defined. So I structured it to read parenting, knowing your child, because it's all about parenting. Okay. So I know that, as I said earlier, many of us are parents. What would you say parenting is? What do you think parenting is? If you want to describe it in your own, based on your own experience, how would you define parenting? Anyone can put it in the chat box. If you want to speak, fine. Maybe I should just call names. Brother Collins, can you hear me? You want to share what parenting is? Brother Collins here. Okay, Sister Lillian, you want to share? You can hear me. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wondering now. I don't know if any other person can hear me because no one is saying anything. Are we shy? Please, so this is like a safe space. There's nothing. Let me see who else to call.
We can hear you, ma. Just that my environment is a bit noisy. That's why we are muted.
Okay, can you chat? Can you just put in the chat box? Okay, if you can just describe your parenting experience, your parenting experience in one word. I want us to just put one word to describe our parenting experience. Okay, you want to help us while they type in and tell us what their experience has been like? Going to build the cat now because I'm not going to move on until somebody says something or types something. Thank you. Oh, great. Parenting is a responsibility. Great. Thank you so much, Brother Pascal. Thank you, Uchi. Yours has been challenging and interesting. Okay, thank you so much. At least somebody built the cat. Okay, so this is a quote from Tim Elmore. We have to prepare the child for the path and not the path for the child. I don't know how many of us were prepared for this journey, this task. But for me, I don't think I was prepared, even though, yeah, we did marriage course, yeah, people advised, before you got married, this is how it will be, when children are gonna come, this one and that one. Nobody quite gets to tell you the true story until you get in. And as many of you have said, it's been challenging, As you said, it's been challenging. I want to start with, let me just start as an introduction. So just have like a summary of what good parenting should be, what good parenting is. So good parenting focuses on developing independence in children. So you're not going to be with your children forever, obviously. You're going to go to school, they're going to maybe get married, or it's going to be sometimes when they become adults, they're going to be on their own, but you should be able to mold them in such a way that when you're not there, they can stand alone, they know right from wrong, and they can represent you. Good parenting involves a style that considers the child's age and stage of development. So if you have 3 children, now one is 11 and one is 2, you know, the way you relate with your 2-year-old is different from the way you relate to your 11-year-old because of the level of the child's development, the way the child thinks, what the child expects is different. So your style for each child depends on the child at that point, child's stage and level of development. Good parenting aims at socializing kids to enable them negotiate their online and offline worlds. So we're meant to build children that are social beings. So when you're not there, when they're in school, how well do they relate to their peers? When they go out to the playground, how well do they relate? When they're at home, how do they relate to their siblings? So as good parenting aims at making your children social beings, giving them the skills that enable them to communicate, to relate with their environment. Also, good parenting develops a growth mindset, links kids' success to effort and strategy, as opposed to purely recognizing and developing natural ability. So yeah, a child comes with their natural skills and ability, but as a good parent, you should be able to inculcate the growth mindset in the mind of your child. So the child knows that, yes, I know how to do this, but if I put in more effort, I will do better. If I read my books, if I study, I would, excel better in class. If I do this, there are opportunities for me to grow and excel in life. Just like my son, so when, I think it was last term or thereabouts, he used to feel like, okay, I know this thing, I am intelligent. And one time I called him and I said, you remember the story of the hare and the tortoise? The hare thought he was fast. He knew in his mind he was fast. He knew that he was a fast person, but he was too confident. And then he got to a point when he ran the race with the tortoise, he lost. So I told him, I said, when you are too confident, you tend to relax and then you become weaker, right? The skills or the things that you're supposed to aspire for, you don't aspire for them. So in other words, you might just be a big fish in a small pond. And true to what I said, later on, some things happened and I moved into another school. When he got there, he found out that he was a small fish in the big sea. Okay, so now for children need to understand that, yes, you might have the skills, but you need to put in some more effort. You need to work hard to achieve greatness in future. Good parenting focuses on encouragement over praise, consequences over punishment, and cooperation over obedience. This ensures parenting matches the times in which we live. So there's a way you praise a child. If you praise a child too much, it becomes a bad thing. So like for my kids, I noticed that for this my particular son, I noticed that when you praise him too much, he becomes very proud. He feels that he knows too much, right? But because I have known him, I kind of study the way he reacts. At that point, I step in and I'm like, see, even though I'm praising you at this point, but I'm still encouraging you to work harder, you need to do more. You do not rest on your oars. You need to keep working hard. So it's not about praising them. It's not even those that are struggling. You need to keep encouraging them. Okay, so it focuses on encouragement over praise, consequences over punishment. So yes, in this part of the world, we tend to punish this. Some families carry out corporal punishment to their kids. They flog their kids. So you might tell them to go to Nauticana and whatever means you feel you deem fit to correct your child, but they need to understand the consequences of their actions. So if you are telling a child, you need to read your book, you don't read, you you will not go far. If you don't read, you will not pass. He needs to know that, okay, if you don't read, you will not pass. So like for me, I'm not just telling them you will not pass. I'll tell them you're not reading to pass, you're reading to know, so that in future you will be knowledgeable. So they need to know the consequence that if you don't do this, this is what will happen. Not just if you don't do this, I'll beat you. If you don't do this, you will go and kneel down, right? They need to know the consequence. Cooperation over obedience. Yes, we want our children to be obedient, but they need to understand that parenting is a cooperative relationship. So the children need to know that you're doing whatever you're doing is for their own good. So why they need to be obedient to you, because you know better, most times you know better, and they need to cooperate with you towards making them the ideal beings that they want to be. Good parenting insists that kids help at home without being paid, so that they learn to be givers and not takers. I know many parents, they reward their kids, like, okay, wash the plates and I'll give you this and all that. Yeah, we have to be very careful. Yes, it's good to teach them how to earn, right? But we need to be very careful. Let them understand that there's some things that that come with responsibility, right? If you're washing the plates, it is your responsibility. You're not just doing it because they're doing me a favor. If you're helping your younger ones, it's an act of service, it's an act of responsibility. You're building leadership skills. So they need to understand that they need to be givers of service, givers of love, and not just takers. Okay, good parenting is nuanced to take into account child's birth order, personality, and gender differences. One parenting size doesn't fit all kids. So as I said, you have 3 or 4 kids, you take into nuance that you have the first child is different from your second child, and the personality of your first child, you cannot, all children are not equal, basically. We've heard it several times. So you know that they are different, and the way you treat or you relate with your child A doesn't necessarily mean you relate with child B like that, even though they might be alike, but they're all different. Good parenting uses an authoritative style, which is a balance of firmness and nurturance. The outcomes are generally best for kids in terms of academic success, mental health, and well-being. So yeah, many people say, parents say, I want my child to be my friend, but you have to be very careful, because they need to know that you're in charge. They need to know that you're the parent. I know a while back, my child was trying to be smart. And then, Mommy, if you don't do this, I will not be your friend. And I'm like, no, I'm friendly with you, but I'm not your friend. I am a mother. If I tell you to do something, you do it. Okay, so you need to take charge and not let your child be in charge. Yes, show them love, but be firm when you need to correct them. Knowing your child. How many of us know our children? How many of us can, reach our chest and say, yes, I know my child. Know your child. Let me tell you a little story. So last term, my son he was in primary 2 then. He took snacks to school, and he came back and he was like, Mommy, I didn't see my snack again. And I was like, how can you tell me you didn't see your snack? I said, I took it, I didn't find it again. During break time, I didn't see it. I was like, I didn't want to start reasoning why would he come to me and tell me, why would he eat the biscuits and tell me he didn't eat it? So I just shrugged them, like maybe he didn't know, because it was 5 then, and I'm like, maybe he's mixing things up. I just didn't want to capitalize on it or really believe him. A month after that, he came back again. I think it was his birthday. So he had some snacks from his party pack, and I think it was popcorn. So he took it to school the next day, and he came back again and said, Mommy, I didn't see my popcorn. And I'm like, that is how you said you didn't see your popcorn before. Now you're coming, your biscuit there now. I was like, Daddy, are you sure you did not eat this thing? He said, no, I did not eat it. I don't wonder. And I began to fear, because I'm like, why would he eat something and say he did not eat it? Does it mean, is it trying to be, greedy or what? So I asked his teacher, and I'm like, he brought snacks, and he said he did not. So she was like, she was also surprised that he said the same thing. They checked that she asked people in his class and he said they saw him with the biscuit, sorry, with the popcorn, but he said he did not see it. So I was still like it was still baffling me, trying to think around it. Then the next day when I went to school, the head teacher came to me and she was like, that she heard that my son was looking for his popcorn. I was like, I didn't, who came to, I didn't want to like escalate it because I was still trying to like say, I was saying I will have a conversation with him, to try and understand. She now said one of the classmates came to report it and they are investigating it. I was like, okay. Because like they had CCTV cameras in the class and they're going to look through the cameras and then find out what really happened. So some days after, it was 2 days after, she called me and she was like, they looked at the video and then he ate it. He was one that ate it. I was like, really? I was like, Daddy, why would you? He kept saying, I did not eat it. And I told her, let me come, I want to see it. Let me come and see the video for myself. So I went to her office, they played the video. When they got, I was like, but this is not, I can't see any red wrapper. This is not popcorn now. Then she took it closer look. She's like, okay, it's not that means they've not seen the. I said, okay, let's people should go and check through again because he was not, obviously, he did not eat this thing. So the next day she now called me and told me that they have seen what happened. I should come and see the video. And I went, I saw the video. Apparently, when the boy came to school that day, he showed his friends, I brought popcorn, and then he put it under his locker. So I think they have 2 breaks. So after they had done the first set of classes, during the first break, he stepped out. And when he stepped out, one of his classmates quickly just went and picked the popcorn. So I was actually shocked. I'm like, this is year 2, primary 2 class. And even the person was like, she's like the best student in the class. And I was like, wow. So if I had like probably just agreed with the teacher then when she had told me, he ate it out, then maybe I would have scolded him or punished him for trying to go. Because I had spoken with him and I noticed his body, the way his emotions were, his body movements and everything. I was like, this body didn't take this thing. So it is good for you to know your child, so that when somebody comes and tells you, your child did this, you can, push and say, no, I'm not sure. Are you sure? Do a double check. So it is very important to be in your child's life and know what's going on and be there with them. This is a quote from Tracy Morgan. Why should you know your child? Why should you know your child? You need to know your child to understand your child's personality. And that knowledge, you need to manage and know them better. I know different traits all my children possess. I know the one that is emotional. I know the one that is bold. I know the one that is confident. I know the one that has that I need to work on and all that. So you need to know your child so you understand their personality and know how to work with them. The knowledge of their strengths and weaknesses, you are able to get the best out of them. And you're able to make them more self-aware, right? So when you know their strengths, you let them know that these are your strengths. During inter-house sport once, my son came to me and he was like, Mommy, I'm not always coming first. I'm always coming last, or I'm always not coming, I'm always coming third or the fourth. And I'm like, and he was sad. And I said, each child is different. Even in a race, only one person can come first. But think about it. People have different skills. People have different strengths. That your classmate that came first in the race, is he as intelligent as you in academics? He said no. And I said, you see, so even though you are not strong in this in athletics, you're strong in academics. So hold as in like wear it with you. Yes, I know I am good at this. I know I'm good in this. I know that I'm good in this area. Even though I'm not good in this other area, I can excel in this other area. And know that all children are different. But the fact that your friend maybe can draw and you cannot draw, there are other things that you can do. So you need them to let them know that they know their strengths. So they are more confident about themselves and their personalities and their skills. When you know your child, you are able to spot red flags early, prevent disasters. When you spot these red flags, you know at what point you need to go out and get help. So my first son, last term, when we're doing like revision for exams, I noticed that he was really sluggish. Like, I know him, like I've known him from like when he's there at school, and I'm like, he's a very active child, and he's very energetic and all that. And then I started asking him questions when doing revision. It was becoming like as if he did not know. And at some point, I'm like, I had to ask him, do you listen in the class at all? Like, why are you behaving like this? Why are you so sluggish? I asked him, don't you listen in the class? He said, he listened. I said, okay, but when your teacher is teaching, why don't you ask him questions? And he's like, I asked him, but the teacher says that it's very easy. That I would know it. At that point, I realized that, okay, I needed to go back to the teacher and find out what the issue was. And so I went back to the teacher, and the teacher was like, he plays too much. He plays too much. But this is not a children play, right? So it's not really an excuse. But over that term, I was able to realize that similar parents were having those similar experiences with their children in that subject, right? So from interaction with other children and the head teacher, I was able to realize that the teacher was having issues communicating with the children. And a couple of things happened along the line. It's a long story, but the bottom line is that because I spotted those, because I had, over time been interacting with my child, I started noticing those different traits. I knew that there was an issue. And then I hopped on it and was able to get a solution. Hey, you know your child's love language. What excites your child? What makes your child happy? What makes your child joyful? Every child is different, and what works for one might not work for the other. Understand your child so you can be an effective parent. So how do you get to know your child? I'm going to pause and I'm just going to ask, how do you know your child? How have you been knowing your child? What things do you do to enable you know your child? Does anyone want to share? You can do it in the chat box. If your environment is noisy, you want to say something, you can go ahead. Hello, did I call someone? Stangozi? How do you know your child?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, there are basically a lot of ways to know your child, but most definitely one of them is by spending time with them.
Okay.
If you spend time with them, you'll be able to observe certain things. That's the first one. You have to observe, stay with them, observe, and you should be able to correct. That's one of the ways to know your child. It's not by being far from them. You might never really know them from phone conversations. Sometimes there need to be physical interactions.
Very much. Lillian said by observing what excites them. Yeah, know what excites them, you know how to get to them. When my son was in nursery, he used to like to do his homework. So I noticed that whenever I tell him, okay, I'm not happy with you, and he becomes sad, he's like, okay, let me make you happy. And he now does his homework. So I used to use that trick, and not a trick, but it was just a method, because I just noticed that when I form as if I'm actually sad. When I form as if I'm sad, and he's like, okay, let me do it. And when he's done, he's like, are you happy now? And I'm like, yes. So observing what excites them, observing how they relate, what they talk about, communicating with them. Yeah, you can also check their moods. Right? Yeah. Does any other person want to say something? Right, go on. Any of our brothers? I want to call one brother. Let me see. Brother Felix, want to share any tip on how we can know our children? Brother Jude. Okay, right. Sisters are having it up. Let me go on.
Okay, so good
Okay.
evening. This is Monica. I've
Hi,
just joined
Monica.
for some reason. Sorry for joining late. So I'm wondering out loud if I have missed out on a lot.
You haven't.
Thank you.
Right. All right. So how do you get to know your child? Let's go on. Observation and communication, just as Stan Ngozi and Sister Lillian have mentioned. Meticulously pay attention to every detail, focusing on the verbal and non-verbal. So, like Stan Ngozi said, spend time with them, listen to them, you know, ask them questions about school, ask them questions about maybe their friends, just listen to their conversations, then watch their moods, as Sister Lillian said, how they, their facial expressions, how they fuss about certain things. You just need to pay attention to detail. I think for us, for parents, you're not just a parent, you're a psychologist, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a teacher, you're everything. So that's if you're a responsible parent, right? Responsible parent is all these things, right? So you have to go the extra mile because as far as I'm concerned, as far as we all know, it's a calling. You've been given a call. You've been called and given gifts to mold into masterpieces. So you have to be put in extra detail in understanding your child. Look out for patterns. So there's this ABC rule that's Brother Namdi shared. I don't know if he's on this call, but it's about, okay, if you notice that your child probably goes some tantrums and you're like, you want to know why this child goes tantrum. You need to ask yourself, what happens before this child goes tantrum? What happens? What causes it? That's it. What happens before he does it? Then after he has done it, what do you normally do? What's the thing you normally do that makes him quiet? So there's this story I saw somewhere. The person said that the boy in the class, they noticed that he normally spills milk on himself. When he spills milk on himself, the teachers in the class rally around, and when he spills milk, they rally around him, and then he's calm, right? And they noticed that it was a trend. He normally just does it to get attention. So what they decided to do was that they reward him for when he does like good work, good things in the class, right? And he realized that, okay, since they really pay more attention and reward him more when he does better things, he now started reducing what he does, this spilling of milk on himself. Another one was like a teacher. She realized that the students in the class were always fighting at certain times in the day. What are they fighting over? Lego blocks. Every time they're fighting over Lego blocks. And what did she then do? She now decided to get them more Lego blocks because of the number of children, so that everybody's managing their own things, and there's you kind of reduce the fights. So the bottom line of this entire thing is that something always causes something. Sometimes children want just some extra attention, right? It might be in a negative way. No, that's not for you to spot, or it's maybe in a positive way. So find out what pattern is this child exhibiting. Okay, what does he normally do, and then what are the things that you normally do to remedy it, and then find a way around managing it and making the child realize that, okay, this is not the best way, to express yourself or to get attention and all that. As I said before, create time for your child. Ask about school, ask about, watch TV with them. There's sometimes that I randomly ask my kids, okay, what happened in Goku today? What did they do? What did this person do? I'm just building conversation so that they will talk, right? So in those things, when they are talking, you get to learn certain things. My husband used to say that I'm making the children talk too much. I'm not making them talk too much. Like when they're having a bath, I'm backing like the younger ones. I'm just asking them questions because I just want them to just converse. And that has actually even turned around to be a positive thing for me, because these days when I come back from work, my son will come to me and tell me, Mommy, tell me what happens in the office from the beginning, when you go to the office to when you go back, and then I'll tell you what happened from when I go to school to when I go back. So I have been able to build that communication, atmosphere for communication. Right. So where can you get information about your children? What questions can help you understand your child's psychology? What does your child like to do most? You need to find out, what does your child like? Does he like sports? Does he like drawing? Does he like food? Does he like being with his friends? Who are your child's friends? So when you talk with them about school, about what they play with or who they play with, they're going to tell you about their friends, what their friends said, what their friends did, you know? That will help you. When they tell you about their friends, you need to even get an understanding of who that friend is, the friend's personality, and you'll be able to spot if the interaction between your child and that friend is even good. You'll also need to communicate to the child's teacher. What is the child's teacher saying? What's the child's teacher saying about him or her? Once in a while, just randomly ask, how is he doing with this? How is he doing? Sometimes you need to ask. Yeah, it's not in all schools that the teachers face an avenue where you can, communicate. So you need to ask, what's my child, how's he faring? What areas does he need to improve on, to find out how the child is behaving in the class. Sometimes the teachers in schools try to shield the child. They don't want you to know, maybe to scold the child, and they just try to make it, they're trying to manage you, but you need to keep, an open communication with your child's teacher, because sometimes you find out that your children will spend more time in school than they do spend at home. How do you react when they have to do something they don't like, such as eating certain foods or going to bed or doing their homework? How do they react? How social are they? Are they willing to try new things? Are they willing to play, go out and play? Are they scared of the environment? Are they scared of the dark? Many of our kids are scared of the dark. So we just need to keep reassuring them, reassuring them that all is well, that they shouldn't be afraid, that Jesus will keep them and things like that. How long is your child taking to become familiar with their surroundings? It's still the same thing about being social. Are they able to adjust to changes in the environment? So if, for instance, you're changing your child, moving your child from one school to another, you need to take extra care, let the child understand why you had to change him, follow up and ensure that the child has settled in. Only if you're moving from one location to another, or you're relocating, right from before you even start moving, let's start talking to the child, for he or she to understand why you're doing this, how it's going to be beneficial to him, and let him understand that no matter what happens, you're always there in case, if there's anything he needs to talk about, if he's afraid or he needs to share anything. Building trust in your child. So it is very key that you build trust in your child so that he is more open with you, so that when they are more open with you, you get to know things that you would not have known. Children are very smart, so they might say, sometimes they try to outsmart you. So you have to build trust so that they are open and they know that, okay, even though daddy is my daddy, he also loves me and he's also my friend. So practice what you preach. If you tell your children, make sure you finish your food. I don't want to see any grain of rice. I don't want to see, make sure you finish your vegetables. Make sure you yourself, cleaning out your plate and you're eating vegetables. You're telling your children, don't lie down on the sofa in the living room. It's not proper. Let them not see you doing that, because they're like, okay, that means daddy's double standard, the mommy's double standards. Learn to listen to them. I know children can be a handful when they're calling you, mommy, 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 daddy, daddy. And sometimes it can be like, one hell of a headache. But just need to build that. Be patient with them, right? Just trying to be patient with them and try to listen. Even when they're saying things that in another word, they will say they don't make sense, but just try to listen and just say, ah, that's true. They say something, oh yes. They want to also converse with you. Yeah. So try to listen to them. Listen to them all the time. Listen to what they're saying and what they are not saying. As I had said before, verbal and non-verbal. Tell them the truth. Tell the truth. All those times that I don't know how many of us here still do that, and I'll say, go and bring slippers upstairs and you leave. Then me, sometimes I think I can still remember some experiences. They don't forget. If you are going somewhere, tell the child, I'm going, I'll be back. Don't lie and say, oh, just go wear your slippers and I'm waiting for you outside and you're lying. So many times we have instances like that. Try as much as possible to let your child know the truth, right? So if you are saying, do not watch TV, you're not supposed to watch TV from 9 o'clock and all that. Don't tell the child because there are monsters on the TV. No, tell the child because for your health, so that you sleep longer, so that for your health and all that. So tell the child the truth. Promises should not be broken. Tell your child that if you do well in your exams, I will buy you a gift. You try and buy the child something, even if it is just popcorn, even if it's just ice cream, even if it's not a big gift, but just fulfill your promises. Then it builds that trust. Do not make empty threats. So if you're making a trend, make sure it's something that you can do. Do not tell your child if you do this, I will throw you down from the stairs. Obviously, you cannot do that. So if you're saying, I will take your toy from you, or I will not take you to the park, or I wouldn't do this. If he does it, make sure you prove to that child what you said you would do, so that he doesn't feel, this is not how he normally talks. She won't do anything. That's why when they go to school and they're conversing with their friends, my mommy, that's how she talks. She will not do anything. So try to make true what you have said you would do. Create honesty and reward them. So if they do things that are good, if they are honest, oh, well done. Encourage them, well done for being honest, well done for being responsible, well done for being truthful. Encourage them and appreciate them. They love it. They really do love it. Sometimes, like, they are doing homework and probably I give one of my kids high five. The other ones want to get high five. So you didn't give me high five. They always love that. It gives them this sense, this confidence, makes them happy and makes them do better. All right, I want us to remember these are some Bible verses on parenting. We've heard this one before several times. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he's old, he will not depart from it. I think that, how the world is these days, there's so much, the world is upside down, so many scandals, so many things, that I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I'm actually scared of tomorrow. I'm wondering how I'm going to bring up my kids in a world that thinks black is white, So I just believe that with God on our side, once we have done our work, when we've done our groundwork, model of the children are right, and send them into the world with prayers as their backing, they will do well. So train up a child the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart from it. That's Proverbs 22, verse 6. Ephesians 6:4 says, fathers and mothers, do not provoke your children to anger the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. So whatever way you choose to discipline your child, make sure you do not push your child to anger. So if you are disciplining your child, after disciplining him, let him know why you did that. As you punish him with one hand, draw him back and show him love with the other. Right? So that they understand that you're doing it for their own good. So do not just be punishing and come to discipline. I know how it can be, having pressure from work, pressure from here, pressure from Nigeria. Your child comes again and is giving you drama and all that. You just need to be careful and know where to draw the line. So do not provoke them to anger. Discipline your child, discipline your children, and they will give you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. Still the same thing about discipline. Many children out there are indisciplined, and we all know that. When you go out, you see some teenagers these days, you see even in schools, even in primary schools, in other schools, you see the way some parents don't, they see their children is behaving in public and they just do not say anything. Even in church, You don't say anything. And if you try and caution that parent, the parent just, so they do not know. You're planting a bad seed for the future, because that child, when that child grows, you wouldn't have control. And that child will certainly not be peace of mind. That's Proverbs 29:17. And then Colossians 3:21 says, fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. So it's all in line with all these things I have said. So by the time you keep, punishing, disciplining without even drawing them close, showing them love, lose their self-confidence. When they leave your home, when they probably go to secondary school and they're in boarding house, they're not confident. They cannot communicate well with their peers. They have an inferiority complex because they feel, I don't know this, I can't do this. So just ensure that you do not embitter them, do not make them angry so they do not become discouraged. I'll round up with these quotes. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. So you have to practice what you preach, as I said earlier. That's by Carl Jung. It is easier to build strong children than to prepare broken men. You can agree with me that that's true. You get it right from the onset, from the cradle, and follow up at every point, even with prayers. You have better control than when you just let them go and they are loose. By the time they go into the world, the wild, you don't have any control again. Most things are good and they are the strongest things, but there are evil things too. And you are not doing a child a favor by trying to shield him from reality. The important thing is to teach a child that good can always triumph over evil. This is from Walt Disney. You can see for most of the Walt Disney cartoons, when there's a villain at the end of the day, you see the good triumphs over evil and all that. So let them know. It won't do them good if you shield them from reality. Just let them understand based on their own development. Try to explain things to them, this is not good, and use it, kind of tell stories and look for ways to communicate to them. It's not good to steal. Apart from telling them, according to God's word, God will not like this and all that. Apart from that, it makes you irresponsible. It makes you are not a law-abiding citizen. Look for ways of telling them these things. Let them know that there's evil out there. There are bad people there. Do not talk to strangers. They will do this and all that. So try and communicate these things to them. Do not shield the children away from the world. Yes, shield them, but let them know that there's something outside the fence, so that when they go outside, they are prepared and they're better equipped to face it. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for time. Thank you so much for all of us that contributed. Do we have any questions? Does anybody want to share anything or to contribute? Make any inputs?
Yeah, Attractor, well done. And thank you for the presentations. Yeah, I just have a few comments to make. One was the ABC, which you highlighted, about, finding patterns in your kids. And the ABC, the A is so if there's a specific behavior, basically, that's the B, the behavior that you're talking about. But then the A is the antecedent, and the C is the consequences. So if a child is beginning to do something that is quite odd and that happens quite often, then you should start tracking it down. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but there is plenty of value in being able to write it down. When that behavior happens, then what was it that happened before that behavior? And what usually happens after that behavior? By writing the time it happened and the day, observe it a few days or maybe a full 1 week, you'll be able to paint a picture as to what it is, that the challenge is. And like Attractor painted talked about a kid that would always spill his milk during lunchtime because he noticed that the first time he did it, people just rushed and said, "Oh, sorry," and spoke to him lovingly. So he kind of that became the trigger point. But because our memories are not great, we are able by writing, which is not a very cultural thing we do as well. It's quite difficult for us. But by writing down, you'll be able to solve a problem easily. And in that case, it was the writing down that helped them identify what that particular issue was. And there are a number of case studies like that that happens once you write down. And if you just categorize it as what the behavior is, what happened previously, and what usually happens as a consequence, then you can begin, if you think of it as an equation, then you can begin to change the equation, change what the consequence will be afterwards. And that can make that behavior go away if it's a negative one. And so that's what that ABC really stands for and what we can adopt as parents. There is also the thing about praising and criticizing or children. The core thing there, like Attractor said, is you focus more on the thing that has happened. So the effort that has gone into it, you focus on that more than anything else. And there's also the school of or body of knowledge that says you focus on progress rather than perfection. That's key to raising a child, a confident child, but also a child that is balanced. Then there is also the other point to be made around this children thing as well, is it's also hard for parents, but find out what your child is supposed to do in at every particular age. Say if they're 5 or they're 10, you go online and look for it. You see what the typical things they do around there. Now, it could be that when you check that your child is actually excelling, even doing what an older children are doing positively, it could also be that they're doing stuff that are not in that. And that's also one key source of information of knowing your child. So the long and short of all of this is there is no manual for us parents. We get things wrong. We learn from our mistakes. But in reality, to help yourself, you have to read, go online. You have phones that browse these days. Just check. And you see a couple of pieces of information. Of course, you look at the source and things like that and sense check whether it makes sense or not. But generally, you'd find lots of things that would help support raising a child. Then the idea of course, of sticking to traditional methods, the way you were raised. Also, I think Attractor did make that point very crucial, is that kids are different. The time you were raised was slightly different from what your children will be experiencing between the individuals. So you become more like a situational manager where it is the situation you find yourself, you determine what the best is in that particular case and adapt it to the person. So those are the comments I wanted to make, but thank you very much, Attractor. Excellent work.
Thank you, Nali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nnamdi and Attractor, for doing justice to this parenting, knowing your child. Like I always tell people around me, parenting is one of the toughest jobs I've ever had as a person. Because even when you read all the books in the world, you would find out that no one size fits all. If you have 2 or 3 children, you would understand perfectly well that every child is unique and different. They are totally different, even when they are twins. So that makes you think outside the box, because what you tell A and it goes down well, you tell B and he or she will tell you, no, mommy, it doesn't work that way. So when we understand it that every child is unique, it still gives us that idea of how to go. What you document for A might not work for B. There's a point I wanted us to look at as parents. We should try as much as we can, like Attractor rightly said, find out what happens to your child in school. Because these children spend more time in school than we spend with them as parents, the teachers have a lot of influence on them. So you need to know what they learn as at school, what they've taught them. No matter how busy you are, find out time, 5-10 minutes each day. I might look so busy, but when I come in, all the laziness and tiredness clears from my door because I know that someone is waiting for me to check what he or she has done. I'll share a little experience we had with our son. He's actually an auditory learner. So anything he can relate to you what happened 4 years ago, he will explain everything. But when it comes to writing, he just doesn't like writing. And I was surprised when I came home one day. The little sister who was about 2 said, Mommy, his teacher said she has tried her best and she's tired. I was like, what do you mean? And I had to probe further. I had to call the school authorities. I can't be paying you for a teacher to tell the child. For a teacher to have told a younger child, I am tired, I don't know what to do anymore. It means you've discouraged the person himself. And by the time I interviewed the child, he said, Mommy, I do everything I can to write fast, but my teacher keeps complaining. In that way, that teacher was already killing the self-confidence in this child. But if we weren't observant and understand the kind of a child he is a red flag. So as parents, Attractor told us we need to pay attention to details, as in we need to pay attention to details to the best of our capabilities, because little things, that child can grow up with that, already thinking I'm a failure. So he had to take a lot of efforts and God's grace as well to erase that memory. Funny enough, the next class he went to, the teacher understood. The teacher said, he's a genius. If and only if he writes fast, but it's okay, he can speak for himself. So let's know what happens at school to our children. It is very, very important because most of the time it makes or mar them. Then in terms of watching cartoon, there are a lot of things out there right now. So let's try as much as we can. So there are a lot of gay cartoons now. I've told my children, this is what gay is, this is what lesbianism is. There's no need to hide it from you, just like Attractor's last quote said. There's no need to hide it because if I don't tell you, you will still find out. This is what it is. And when you encounter cartoons like this, let us know. It is not the ideal thing, but that's a reality on ground. We've discussed it. So I think most of these new realities, we need to discuss it with the children, even at a young age. Don't think they are too young to understand. They know because they are smarter than we think they are. Thank you. That's my little contribution.
Thank you, Rosie. What about Uche? Back to you.
Hello, I have a question.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? I want to
Please go
confirm.
ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you, Brother Felix.
Okay. I'm sorry. Doing your thanks for the nice presentation. Some of us we are still learning. So we're not talking out of experience. We are still learning. The question is actually I used to have a boss. My boss he has a daughter that often they always engage in discussion. But according to him, he used to say that he's his daughter's best friend. And in fact, there was a time we had a heated argument in the office, and he was his position is that we discussed freely. He said that his daughter has because the daughter, I think the daughter was like in second year in a university at that point in time, and that was a private university. I was saying that the daughter has no boyfriend. So I was saying, how do you know? He said he can vouch that his daughter doesn't have. So the way he was saying it, he was saying with so much confidence that he knows his daughter and he knows everything about his daughter because they discuss his daughter's gist partner. But everything about the daughter he knows. So I want to know, is it really possible that you can attend to that level of knowledge about knowing maybe your child, your daughter, even somebody that you talk to university level, that you be able to? Because for us in the office, it wasn't, maybe most of us, me particularly, I didn't believe it at that point in time. But the way he was saying, he was sounding convincingly based on, it's a matter of how he brought up his child.
Why didn't you believe him?
Somebody that's in university second year, I don't know. But you were just saying he was. Anyway, for me, I didn't just believe that.
No, there has to be a reason why you are doubting.
What are your reasons for not believing?
No, there is basically the reason that I was doubting is just that normally, typically, when I say most people will not be discussing with their parents things about boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't think even our own time we don't discuss all this kind of. We can discuss with your parents everything, but there are certain types of discussion that you don't want to discuss with your parents. That's for me. That was just an angle. I was saying that kind of topic can be hidden from your parents. You can discuss any other thing, but when it comes to certain kind of discussions, you may select things that you don't want to discuss with your parents.
And I would say that you're talking based on your experience and your own upbringing. So people are different. Some people were brought up differently. Some people are very free with their children. So I wouldn't want to judge anybody based on the way my own parents brought me up. And there are many of us that at second year did not have boyfriends or girlfriends. So I don't think it's out of. But I know that you're trying to say that you don't believe that it can be that close that the girl can tell her father the truth and all that, but it happens. But Sister Lillian wants to say something.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, regarding what Felix said, I think is actually possible. If the father at that age could speak with the daughter and they talk freely, it means he got it right from the onset. He started perhaps there was something he learned it just like we are learning now. Perhaps he learned it at perhaps a long time ago to start, having that conversation, especially with your girl child. And there's something I realized about the girl child. It's really important for daughters to have that relationship with their fathers, that close relationship. It can safeguard them on a lot of things. So it's actually very possible because I've seen it happen over time. You might say, okay, because of what is happening around now, one might tend to imagine that such things would not exist. And again, because of our own peculiar upbringing. But then again, there are those cases, and I dare say many of them that are like that. So yes, it's actually possible, and it depends on the relationship. Even I would say somebody like Ibukun Awashika, yes, I've heard her talk about her own relationship with her father, and she said in one of the interviews that she's where she is because her father, she had that relationship, and he was more or less like someone that gave her that confidence to pursue and also to do what she wanted to do. So when you have fathers who have that close relationship with their daughters, there's something unique and different about them. So it's quite possible. So that's my own contribution to it.
Thank you. Somebody else wants to say something, Brother Dennis.
Yes, good evening all. I have to apologize that I came in late. So it was due to where I was coming from, and I wouldn't want to join from where I was. I want to contribute based on the question Mr. Felix asked and what Miss Lily or Mrs. Lillian has added to. It is very, very possible, like she said, completely possible. Currently, I have an experience on that. The girl is, she lives with me. Let me say, she's an adopted child. Let me put it that way. She lives with me, so, and she's in her university level. There is nothing she hides from me and from my wife. But for me, especially because I talk to young people a lot. So if there is anything that is bothering her, she tells me before she takes a decision on it. And why is it so? I came to realize that when you are the type that will not judge whenever anything is being said or whenever anybody approaches you, those people have more confidence to tell you more. When I say you will not judge, you will not become God when they are telling you their worries or what they are passing through. So if you try not to become God himself, they will tell you more and you become, let me say, show empathy. Mostly, if you do these things that way, I think your daughters or your children will open up to you and tell you things you will even be surprised at. Then gradually you can start advising them in your own way. But if you want to get them to your side, do not judge them. Just tell them it's an experience. People will experience them, and from there it goes. So it is 100% possible, very, very possible. And it is fun. I have to tell you the truth. Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Sister Monica. Sister Monica. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, first, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be on this call. Thanks for the informative presentation, Attractor. Thanks to all the contributions and the questions. First, I'll start with a testimony. Follow up to Felix's contribution, right? And that's okay. So even if a practical case is far-fetched, right? I'm one person who had a dad that was my buddy up until I lost my dad. So it's possible. So my dad was my everything and I could share everything with him. Right. So I'm just trying to render my voice to say, as much as it's slightly father of generation, at that time it was possible. Right. And then as a way of contribution, as I listen through and in my experience with kids, I've come to understand that, one thing or one trait, that helps relatability with the younger ones is so there's a popular saying that every human being has an inner child, that it's either, under expression or overexpressed or like overly expressed. But one universal truth is that we all have like an inner child, right? That is yielding to be expressed. So, and I'm wondering what better time, is there to have that inner child expressed than with kids. It's quite unfortunate that, most times people struggle to get to that part because connection to the heart seem to be a thing of it, more like a fairy tale than it is practical, particularly in our present time. But should anyone be interested, I believe making a search on how to actually call back the inner child, get back to the inner child, working from the heart, helps the connectivity between, adults and kids. It works like magic. And on the final note, I would like to ask a question, right? Because I'm not a mother yet, right? Maybe soon to be mother. There is something, I think off the top of my head, I hear people say, I don't know how true it is. I've seen it happen, but I would like one or two persons from their experience to share what it is like talking about polarity in the home. So where you have the girl children naturally drifting or getting closer to the male parent, the father, and vice versa, right? So I'd like a little share of experience. Are there any tensions it poses, and are there ways to balance out that dynamics?
Okay, so I don't know if okay, but Anamdi, I think you should answer her question. Your hand's already up, so just make your comment and then answer her question.
No, it's not my hand, though. It's Nanya's
Sorry,
hand.
it was my hand up, and I don't.
Sorry, I won. It's all good.
Hi everyone, Monica. I'm not really sure how to answer your question, because if I use this home as an example, I'll probably say our daughter has a good relationship with her dad, and she tends to be formal with me and playful with her dad. But coming from the home I came out from, I don't think I had, such a relationship with my dad, because he was a super disciplinarian. So you just want to please him and have a good life. So I don't really know what drives that. So I'm not sure what drives the polarity and what causes striking the balance. But the reason I had raised my hand up was, around elaborating on what Attractor had said, and also what Dennis had said about building the trust in a child. So I think what I can say I probably have observed is that there's also that fine line between setting the kids straight and then losing them. So one of the things to bear in mind in having this kind of inclusive parenting activity is that you're giving the children an opportunity to be human around you. So that means they're going to come up maybe challenging things you've asked them to do. And most of us, the kind of homes we came from, you didn't dare question what your parents have asked you to do. And then you're raising kids that you're encouraging, to ask you questions, to have backs and forths about what, they believe in versus what you've said they need to do. So I feel like care should be taken in responding to situations like that, where the child comes with serious questions about what you've already imbibed in yourself as a value, and you're trying to inculcate that into them. Because it could lead to situations where, if that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? If that's not substantially answered for the child who's questioning, they have your respect, or they have your respect still. So they start picking and choosing what they feed you based on what they think you want to hear, if they're not willing to carry on having those backs and forths with you. So I don't know how you're really able to be a neutral parent, like Dennis was suggesting about being the person who listens and not pass judgment. Is really a tough thing to do, to be that neutral person when you think you can guide them to, a safer path. but at the same time is thinking about how to manage those difficult conversations, because they could move the child away from the trusting relationship you think you hold, where they start feeding you just what they think you want to hear. And so at the back of your mind, you think you are best friends, but they've probably grown to the point where they're just managing your emotions.
All right, let me quickly add to that before comments fly in. So now that he's come here, very quickly on the father-girl relationship, very good relationship and things like that, like Lillian and Monica illustrated. I think it's great. However, if I put on the mentor's hat, there is also the thing about letting, how do I put it now, someone really develop into who they are. But from your experiences, probably that's not the case. But you know, you want to know, but you only want to know what is necessary and let them flourish into who they are. That's putting on the mentor's hat, really, and talking about it. And then I'm flipping it the other way around. What of a boy that has a good relationship with the mom? You also keep hearing things like when they grow up, they're called mommy's boy. Is that an issue? You know, so, and for the ladies here, the sons you're raising, how are you balancing it out, really? Do you want a son that grows up and thrives as a son on his own as well? Or do you want a very close relationship that when they then become adults, it becomes quite challenging, especially when they want to settle down with someone new, because there's this long life friend they've made in their mom that they can't just let go, you know? So those are crucial. Those are the questions, the kind of things turning in my mind around that. And my comment on Monica's point really is around the polarity thing. It tends to happen, but I don't think there is enough data to support that. And it's not every home that you have a male presence as well. But those girl-child relationship can and their mom can still thrive and grow. So I think it's a bit more fluid in terms of what direction it goes eventually and all that. But as a family and all, you're striving to make sure that the relationship is good enough that when there is a problem, they can't speak to you, you would notice. And when they need support, you also notice and give them all the support they need.
Thank you, Madam Nadia. I really like that no data to support it part. I really love that point. For me, I feel that sometimes there's something that people just say, you know, what's what they call it? Like, generations, every generations upon generations, people just say things, that's how first children are. That's how girls are. They turn to their father. That's how, you know, and then people just pick it. And when you pick it, it becomes like something that has implanted in your mind. And then even when it is not present in your family, you just feel, she's always saying to her father. But sometimes I just feel that people, is what people hear, what they believe, the mindset they had built over time, that is just making them see as if, yes, the girls are turning to their father. But it's as you said, there's no data to sustain it. And yeah, it happens, but at the same time, there are some families it doesn't happen. I don't know if we have enough time to take Brother Dennis and Okonkwo's comments. Uche, do you think you can take them? Because it said we were supposed to round up at 9:30. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just looking at I have time for this because some of us are going to work tomorrow. Can you guys make it sharp now? 1-2 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
But Uche, you are sounding like you are feeling sleepy for tomorrow's work. But that's no problem. I understand.
I'm not sleepy.
Okay. Let me put it. Let me make it clearer. This thing, like Namdi said, it is a whole lot. It's big, quite big. And Attractor said something. He said those words or those kind of belief system people always incite into people. Girls are always close to their father. Yes, it is true, and it may not be true. It depends on the family and it depends on upbringing. I believe that if you want to get it very right, you have to start very early. You cannot just do as you like, and later on in their lives, you want to start instilling some things into them. It will not work easily. It may work, but not that easy. You may have lost them at that particular time. Somebody said it will get to a time, they'll start telling you what you want to hear because they have watched you. You are not there for them. You are not there. That time, they're no more telling you what you want to hear. I want to tell you the truth. They are telling somebody somewhere the real truth about what they want to share. So it has to start early. Give them that confidence to talk and do not be a God to judge. It doesn't mean that you are going to be, let me say, neutral. No, you're not going to be a God to judge. Whenever they tell you what they feel or what is worrying them or any kind of problem that they've put themselves into, don't act as if they have committed the worst crime. Calm down after you have listened. You can start admonishing them with love. All these things can be done with love. There's a way somebody sees that even though he talks to me with the real truth of things I'm supposed to know or start doing, but there's a way he does it. He doesn't shout at me. He doesn't kill me before telling me those things. These are young people. They have other young people they meet outside, So there's a way you do it. You see them coming more to tell you more things. And after they are finished talking to you, you now talk to them. The same thing you still want them to learn. You still have to talk to them about those things, but in a subtle manner. It is no more like, I will kill you today. That's what most African parents do. They feel it is by power, I will kill, I will do this. But everything can be done in love. But listen first. Let them know that they have you behind them to be there for them. That is why some daughters who get pregnant, they will go and commit abortion. Nobody will know. But some daughters can come back and whisper to their mom or to their dad, and they start looking for solution. Then after that, they now talk to them and say, but you know what you did is wrong. And give them reasons why what they did was super wrong. Even if you kill her, if she goes out to do the abortion, she may still die there. You've lost her. So we can use the other approach, admonishing them with love or in love while listening to them like you are not God. You are not going to judge them, but listen, then admonish. That's what I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okonkwo.
Okay, good evening. This is actually Kenneth Okonkwo. So many people don't know it. I want to say good evening to everybody on the call, most especially to Attractor. I joined in halfway, and to be frank, I enjoyed your lecture. You joined the section very well, and all the contributors thus far. Okay, to my point, just want to relate on what Dennis has said and what Nnamdi has actually contributed. I think there are more data to where you have the boy to the father, the daughter to the mother. But that does not say that there is no the boy to the daughter and the mother to the son. But some other school of thoughts I follow along on this line will say that it gets to a point, even when you want to say something to the daughter, you have to pass through your wife to tell the daughter, please tell your daughter this. And the same thing goes to the mother, pass through the father to say, please tell your son this. It gives the daughter and the son the replica of who they are referring to, the mother, the father. Just like Nnamdi said, would you want your son to be called mommy's boy? There's nothing wrong in it, but in the child, it brings a dominion to that child. And if the child grows up with that, if the child becomes inferior to his or her colleagues outside, which is not actually what it's supposed to be. But if we have a benchmark, maybe a daughter that is up to, say, 12 years or 10 years, at that point, there's some things the father should pass through the mother to get to this daughter, so that it brings the daughter and the mother closer, and they start knowing that, okay, I have the same genetics with my mother. The son also understand that I have the same psyche with my father. That balances it out. But if you allow that to, it does not still stop you from having that relationship with your daughter or your son in different categories. But it gives the daughter a sense of belonging, that yes, my mother is still there, my father is still there to play his or her role at that point in time. So my summary is that the scenario of father to daughter, it's there, but does not supersede the data available that the son to father relationship and the mother to daughter relationship far outweighs the later on results of those children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Kenneth. Ezido wants to round up for us. Brother Joseph.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Attractor, thank you very much. The first Attractor, I know say one thing there, but you get one thing, but so well, you see, I joined in a bit in the middle, but I thank you for doing justice to it. In fact, my fear is that some of us parents started small, and now we are getting to teenagehood, or how will I put it now? So many things are unfolding. When you start with the little children, you think you are doing well. When they start getting to 13, 14, 15, 16, and then you now begin to see some things that are not what you used to be. So it's actually difficult in this time to say, because I followed your examples. When you say parents always tell the children the truth. The problem we have now is that we have parents who don't even know the truth. So because they don't know the truth, so they can't even tell their children the truth. So that is even the major problem that we have, because you throw out a scenario, something that, because there's always a positive way of doing something. There's always one way of doing something, whether irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your tribe or whatever. There's always one thing. Even the Bible supports that. They do unto others how you want them to do to you. It's a simple principle that everybody must abide. But it's quite unfortunate that when you bring up topics like that you expect parents to take a common stand, you'll be surprised and shocked at the way some parents will take a different stand on something that is bad. So now you now begin to wonder, if such a parent is to raise a child, what kind of child will that parent raise? But that's on the other side. Then on this issue of female and male, I don't know if I'm being heard. Hello? Hello?
I hear you.
Okay. So I bring it down to the father-mother relationship, and especially parenthood, as the two parents right now. because that's something I observe. Practically, I also tell even my wife. I tell her here when in fact, the kids should not love one parent above the other parent, and I think his parents are also cautious that. Let me give an example. My son or my daughter comes to me, Daddy, I want this. I say, go and tell your mother. Then the child opens the door. In fact, he has not even entered the room to say, Mommy, the next thing, bring child here, don't get. Then the child runs away. Now, you see, there's something there's a discord there now. The child begins to see the mother as not listening to her or not paying attention. And then even Felix have also touched that. I mean, Dennis have touched that also, especially on the girl child. She goes outside to go and seek for answers to what she could have gotten inside. And then from there, other things happen. So, well, it's a deep reflection for all of us parents. And it's quite difficult at this time. I think during our parents' time, it was easier because whatever they tell us, we accept it, no questions. But now you tell your child something, he goes to Google to go and check if what you are saying is even the truth. Our parents lied to us, heavy lies, but we believed it because there was nowhere to find out. But now it's difficult. So all I can say is that thank you very much for doing justice to the topic, and Uche, I also thank you. This series has really, really impacted on all of us. So do well to put all the recordings together so that we can have access to it and then listen to it. Probably one of these days we'll have a physical meeting where we'll all also come together again. And I thank God that the family is growing. Everybody's almost getting married, apart from the few ones, maybe on the new generation. So who are yet to get. But now people are beginning to understand better what it means to have a family and then run a family. So thank you all for this wonderful opportunity created for all of us together. That's all I have to say now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So at this junction, we just say closing prayer so that we can go. Standing on appreciation from President. So it's amazing. Odd number. We have 15, 16, none drop, still continue. So that means you're enjoying the discussion. Thank you. All right. Shall we pray? In the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Our Father in heaven, we give you praise for taking charge of today's discussion. We are grateful that you made it a success. Father, all the discussion, all the talking points that we had today, may it continue to remain in our heart and we'll continue to improve on it. All these and many more we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Father, even
Amen.
as we go to bed, oh Lord, we pray for a sound, wonderful night rest so that we'll be refreshed and ready for next week activity. Oh Lord, we thank you for answer to our prayer through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Good night. Those are
Nice. Thank you
Okay,
very
well,
much.
good night. But I got one. But I got one. Every time work. Then why?
Now family work.
My mom factory work. The whole 4 months. Nice, dude.